Alright, this video is about guillotines, and we've got a few different guillotines that we do in this system. Alright, and the guillotine, what that basically describes is that I'm going to use the blade of my arm, typically the first variation here, blade of my arm, right next to my thumb. So the thinnest part of the blade here, and I'm going to bring it all the way up, right? Take up all the slack, drive my chest forward, and then start to rotate. Now the last piece there is that as I'm doing this, I'm continuing to come in to break the guy's base so that all the pressure folds on his neck and he doesn't have balance to counter. If I do it away from him or off to the side, well, I can have a lot of problems. For one, he can break out the back and end up taking my back. Another problem that can happen if I'm here is that he can adapt by twisting to the side and maybe even tackling or trying to pull me down and doing a takedown out of it. So we got to be careful that we don't expose ourselves to being tackled in the street or giving up our back. Those are very dangerous positions, but a guillotine choke is a great functional high percentage choke, so we want to know how to do it. You're going to notice that on his anatomy here, we've got a little bump and a ridge. I'm basically going to put that part of my forearm, like a key and a lock, right there onto his neck. And that way I can start to move through and close off the wind and choke him, all right? So again, we enter, maybe we ragdoll to break base. A lot of times to move into this, I like to just grab a guy's jaw so that I can feed it. If I just go here, sometimes he twists out or gets out, right? So when I grab his jaw this way, I prevent that. I've got two-way pressure. I fold my own hands. I take up the slack and I move in, and that's the choke. Okay? Those are the movements to attack the guillotine. That's the standard variation. If you get past about here in your forearm, just a little distance away from that ideal point, well now I might as well shove all the way through. So another way that I can do this, because sometimes it happens at full speed as I get here, well I might as well get all the way here. And in this case, I'm actually using a very similar part of my body. I'm using that angle like I did for the rear naked choke. So that part becomes the part right on his trachea, right? So boom, I move here, and then I just make a fist and I start pushing this direction. And this becomes much more of a blood choke variation of the guillotine rather than a wind choke variation that I just demonstrated. All right? And a final variation is almost like a reverse rear naked choke. So I go all the way under and I simply reinforce my hands and choke them just the way I would for a rear naked choke. Now, one more little detail that's going to help you on the guillotine that's really important. I'm going to show you from this angle. Is that one of his counters is to bring his shoulders up to his ears, just like we would in any choke defense, and start to defend this way with the hands. If I can create space between his shoulder and his ear, I'm much more likely to finish a choke. So for example, I don't want to have my elbows way back. I want to shove them forward into that shoulder to create more space. I don't want him here where he can bring up his shoulders and start to defend well. Maybe start striking me in the groin or any combination of other problems, right? When I snap him down in this position, I want to start driving him back and really wedging that out strong. But this requires that his head is in the center of my body because I don't want him to break out the sides. So in other words, I'll show you this slight angle. I don't want him here to try to do that because now all of a sudden I'm vulnerable to a counter. I want him right in the middle, right where I can get him there. Again, folding in, blocking the shoulders, pressing out, and then finishing up. So it's going to be head, feed, pushing, two-way pressure, elbows out strong to block the shoulder position, all the way up, take up the slack, start checking the watch, pressing in the chest, and advancing your position forward. And that is going to be an incredibly strong choke. And you watch the guy just get folded. Be careful when you're working with your training partner. Don't abuse your training partner. Work with him so that you can get a solid move and get that practice without, sending him to the position where he's out of training for a period of time. Work together safely, go nice and slow, and make sure we're tapping as soon as we feel that strong pressure. Good luck.